Eriana's Vow is a new exotic hand cannon that uses special ammo, and it acts as a hybrid of a hand cannon and a sniper. It's quickly become one of my absolute favorite weapons, and it's been a blast to use because it offers such a good potential and high potential plays because of its versatility and really high damage output. And furthermore, to get the most mileage out of the weapon and the best potential out of the weapon, it requires you to be as precise as possible and hit repeated headshots despite having a lot of recoil to manage. As I mentioned, Eriana's Vow is a unique special weapon hand cannon. It fires at 90 RPM, the slowest of any hand cannon, but has the highest impact with 100 impact. It deals 124 critical damage and 78 damage to the body, resulting in a 0.67 second optimal time to kill, taking 1 crit and 1 body shot, and a 1.33 second base time to kill, taking 3 body shots. The first of the Eriana's Vow's exotic perks is Looks Can Kill. This weapon fires special shield-piercing ammunition, and it comes with a scope. The shield-piercing ammo doesn't appear to have any effect in PvP as far as I know, similarly to the anti-barrier perks or mods that are available on the seasonal artifact. As far as I know right now, they don't have any sort of effect in PvP. However, the trait of the shield-piercing does, however, matter because I believe this is the only weapon that currently has this active, even in PvP. And what this means is that you can actually take advantage of some of the mods that are available on the seasonal artifact that would require you to get final blows with a shield-piercing ammo weapon. The mods Ballistic Combo and Breach Refractor, which do give you either melee or grenade energy for final blows with the shield-piercing weapon, do work with the Eriana's Vow. As per the final part of the perk that describes the scope on the weapon, the scope zoom is higher than that of a Mida multi-tool, however it's lower than that of a Twilight Oath, which is the lowest zoom sniper, so it finds itself somewhere in the middle. Eriana's Vow's second exotic perk is Death at First Glance, bonus damage when aiming down sights on the opening shot of an attack. This bonus is preserved if the shot deals precision damage or strikes an elemental shield. When the first glance buff is active, you'll have lights in the scope illuminated and the shot itself has a different sound effect, and funny enough, even though it does mention that it requires to be ADS or aim down sights, the bonus damage is still present when hip firing. The first glance buff gives you a 32% damage bonus and deals 164 critical damage and 103 body damage. Of course, if you do hit headshots, the damage bonus persists, or of course if you hit an elemental shield in PvE, the damage bonus will persist, and it only stops after missing or hitting a body shot where the damage bonus is applied to that body shot but not afterwards. If you do lose the first glance buff, similarly to opening shot, it takes about 2 to 3 seconds to reset, where you'll have an opportunity to get the damage buff once again and continue to preserve it. In terms of the weapon stats, we have 37 stability, 100 recoil direction, 100 range, 80 aim assist, 31 handling, 32 reload, and a 6 bullet magazine. Starting with range, the damage boost doesn't at all affect damage drop off. You don't have a different drop off range with or without the damage boost, and drop off begin at 73 meters while in aim down sights, courtesy of the scope on the weapon. However, damage drop off while hip firing begin at 31 meters, which oddly enough is similar to most other 140 or 150 RPM hand cannons with a high range stat. I noticed that this weapon actually appears to have better or improved accuracy, or perhaps a tighter accuracy cone than a normal hand cannon based on the tighter crosshairs. Because when you swap between this hand cannon and a standard 140, of course the Eriana's Vow has tighter crosshairs, which leads me to believe this, and this would make it more consistent at range and hit critical hits more reliably at range than a typical normal hand cannon. This also means when you're firing closer to max rate of fire, it probably maintains its accuracy a lot better than the average normal primary hand cannon. I did actually notice that despite the weapon having a lot of visual recoil and even screen jump, that this weapon's hipfire was really accurate, and this could be part of the reason because of maybe some improved accuracy on the weapon. You can hipfire this weapon pretty reasonably well and decently consistently even at 31-ish meters, and that's again where other hand cannons, primary hand cannons, now start to see damage drop off. So it's almost like you can, maybe if you don't want ADS and deal with a higher zoom, hipfire at enemies. And for some people struggling to adapt to the scope, or maybe the insane amount of visual recoil on the weapon with the weapon flailing around, this might be the better option for some. Or maybe in some close range scenarios, it's just better to hipfire because you really do have that as an option that'll remain decently accurate most of the time. And this again would be even more viable, definitely viable in my opinion, combined with Lucky Pants, because that does contribute to tightening the accuracy cone of hand cannons, which of course this counts as, even further. In terms of stability, this weapon has nearly entirely linear or vertical recoil. It's very consistent, and it didn't feel super jarring, despite of course having a lot of screen jump. It felt like it was just moving very vertically. However, after recoiling, the weapon does not come back to an original resting position after making your screen jump. It of course as well has a special recoil animation where the weapon or the barrel recoils and flails far more and for far longer than a normal hand cannon. And as much as you know that you're going to be firing this weapon slower than other hand cannons because of its RPM, the recoil animation does somewhat make you wait to get a better visual on your sights once again and wait for the weapon to come down. So you're going to have to either master the muscle memory of this or really wait until you have a good shot again because of the recoil animation. The hipfire recoil actually feels a little less severe because you don't actually have to wait for the sights to return to a good visual or resting position to fire again, at least what feels like accurately. Although there's definitely more vertical screen jump when you're firing from the hip. The ADS speed and reload speed are pretty sluggish on Eriana's Vow, as you'd expect from such low stats, so as a result I recommend using the hand cannon or precision weapon targeting in order to reduce your ADS speed, as well as enhanced hand cannon reloader mods to reduce your time to reload. The Masterwork for this weapon is actually something I really love. It increases the magazine from 6 to 9, which is a sizable increase, not totally necessary, but I'll take it. But more importantly, it adds an auto-loading holster style effect. It takes about 1 to 2 seconds for it to auto-load after stowing it with a short mag, something less than 9 of course, while you have additional reserve ammo. And this allows you to avoid that sluggish reload, but more importantly, play cover effectively with the weapon and deal very high damage output to opponents, and then swap to clean it up with your primary weapon or another weapon. And while doing so, the Vow is going to be loading itself for the next engagement, so it's ready immediately after, and you again get to just keep swapping between the Vow and other weapons and engagements without much need to really slow down and deal with a slow reload. And this does translate to PvE as well. This allows you to avoid that sluggish reload in PvE, either clearing enemies, barrier champion shields, or even dealing damage with the weapon. After using the Vow, you can swap to another weapon, then the auto load is going to make sure the Vow is ready once it's drawn again. A quick tidbit on the PvE functionality of this weapon in terms of damage or DPS. I could fire about 13 shots within a 10-second period of time, and this was with enhanced hand cannon loader, so this would be the fastest possible. Of course though, keep in mind we do have that auto loading perk which would change the behavior of how this weapon would be used, but just for testing or numbers sake, 13 shots within a 10-second period of time. And with the first glance buff, I dealt 15,586 critical damage, 9,725 body damage to the Lost Sector Ogre, and without the first glance buff, I dealt 11,767 critical damage per shot and 7,342 body damage per shot. So 13 shots of critical damage with first glance results in 202,618 damage, which is roughly 20,618 DPS. 13 critical shots without first glance active though dealt 126,425 damage, which is roughly 12,642 DPS, and 13 body shots without first glance active dealt 95,446 damage, which is roughly 9,544 damage per second. It's important to mention that the shield piercing attribute of this weapon is essentially the anti-barrier perk or mod that you get from the seasonal artifact, except built in on this exotic. So it will deal increased damage to shielded enemies and will actually damage through enemy shields, things like Cabal shields, Vex Hydra shields, Hive Knights, etc. It will deal damage to them through their shields, and also works against barrier champions to stun them and take down their shields as anti-barrier mods would work. So as much as I don't think that this weapon is an incredibly high damage dealing weapon or maybe meant for that, I think its main purpose is to deal with shielded enemies and deal with them quickly. Since it does such high damage and high DPS and even maintains its damage boost through hitting elemental shields, I think this weapon is meant to really take off the shields on an enemy as soon as possible, so then you can take the enemy out quickly after that. Anyways everyone, that's all the information I have on Eriana's Vow. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and the breakdown of the weapon. I really love this weapon. I think again it has a really high potential. I want to have more discussions in the future, perhaps in videos, about how you'd properly utilize this weapon and how effective it is in different scenarios and its versatility, and even just including it in different loadouts for PvP and maybe PvE as well. I'll have that covered in more videos. I've been experimenting a lot with it and really trying to master it, so I'll be making more videos about this weapon in the future. But anyways, as the preliminary breakdown or review, hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more content like this, check me out on Twitch. I stream pretty much every day. Links in the description, twitch.tv/Drewskys. As always, thanks for watching again, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.